listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Howdy, Martin. How the devil are you?
I'm doing really brilliant. Thank you, Patrick.
Really excited today.
I know, another day, another podcast, and we've got someone coming on who I think the whole world knows. So I'm going to let you introduce who we've got on today.
Very, very special guest, an idol of ours, I might add. And I'd like to introduce, I've been busy and trying to sort myself out today because I've been so excited. We have with us today one of our idols, and I mean idols because we've both been to see it together, from Shooting Stars, Little Britain, Casanova, Big Brother, Celebrity Hijack, Romeo and Juliet, Come Fly With Me, The Great British Bake Off, Paddington, Gladiator II, and of course the most famous one, the Star Wars trilogy.
Wrong Lucas.
We haven't got very good researchers here, so.
How you doing, Matt? Lovely to
very
join
well,
us.
thank you. It's lovely to be here with you. This is the age of podcasts. Everybody's doing them. I'm working on one myself, and so it's nice, isn't it? There's something sort of democratic about podcasts that everybody who wants to do one can just do one. That's great.
I've been reading up about you, Matt, and I read that a long, long time ago when you was a little boy, you had alopecia.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's why I have no hair. I lost my hair when I was 6, and yeah, it just fell out over the space of a few months. And then I would wake up in the mornings with hair on my pillow. And then it started to grow back a year later and then just fell out again. And that was that.
Must have been hard being at school.
Yeah,
like
I think it was confusing because really at that age, you just want to fit in, I think. And it was confusing. And some kids, a lot of kids used to ask me if I had leukemia, and so sometimes I'd wonder if I did have, and nobody was telling me about it. But it sort of made me as well, because I think people would look at me and stare at me and sometimes call me names and stuff like that. And I thought, well, if I'm gonna make an entrance everywhere I go just for having no hair, that's not enough. I need to people a more interesting reason to look at me if they are going to look at me. So I do think it really influenced my decision to perform.
The first time we remember you was obviously, like you said, in your baby suit as George Dawes on Shooting Stars. So were you a comedian then called George Dawes? Yeah.
I'd done sort of youth theatre and things like that, the National Youth Theatre and the National Youth Music Theatre, which are these sort of summer camp type initiatives for young people who want to act or work as technicians or anything like that in the theatre. And I had actually also appeared in a very small role in a West End play. I'd just gone to open auditions when I was 14. So I had a real interest in that. But I was 18 years old and I started doing stand-up comedy. But in character, I had this character called Sir Bernard, who was this fruity old actor. And I would perform in the comedy clubs. And I'd only been doing that for 5 weeks when Bob Mortimer happened to be in the audience. And that was amazing because I really idolized Vic and Bob. I was such a fan. Still am. And Bob came to talk to me afterwards and said, maybe there's some way I can help you get work. I really enjoyed your act. And a couple of years later, I was in a show called The Smell of Reeves and Mortimer with Vic and Bob. And then they did Shooting Stars and they wanted me to wear a nappy. And I said, oh, no, please don't make me wear a nappy. Please, can I wear a blue baby grow? And then when it arrived, it was pink. There wasn't really anything I could do, so I had to wear a pink baby grow. And they knew that I played the drums because I'd played the drums at school. I'd had lessons and I had a drum kit at home. I got a drum kit for my bar mitzvah when I was 13. It was amazing because I was only 21 when we did Shooting Stars. I was still at university. Yeah, wow. But I left university early because
it made such an impact, though, because everybody remembers you for it. In fact, we used to be a comedy double act ourselves. Yeah, in '93 we formed, and one of our write-ups actually said, "Well, Reeves and Mortimer get away with something similar." So I thought, well, if we can get comments compared to them two, we're not doing too bad there,
Did
are
you
we?
do the comedy circuit?
We used to do holiday camps and social clubs mainly. We did it for 3 years, didn't we, Pat?
We did the Worthing theatre show, which was renowned for students bombarding the stage with all sorts of things. We got away without a bruise, didn't we? Obviously, you've just touched on, we were talking about your hair and leukemia. This brings us on. You're a patron of the Karen Morris Memorial Trust. How did you get involved with that, Matt?
So Karen Morris was a childhood friend of mine. Our mothers were very close friends. And so I knew her. I think she was a year younger than me, but I knew her from very, very early childhood. And she was diagnosed with leukemia while she was at university. And she eventually died. And the trust was formed, the Karen Morris Memorial Trust, to try to set up homes from home. So the idea with the trust is to own or lease, to have this property that is near the hospitals where people with leukemia are treated, right? There are a few centers of excellence, very, very good hospitals where people with leukemia are treated. And of course, if you're being treated there, you have periods where you need to be in hospital and periods where you don't, but you might have traveled a long, 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 long way away to be treated at that particular hospital. And what the trust does is it owns or rents and customizes these places where people are being treated with leukemia when they get respite from their hospital treatment, but they still need to be in a particular environment that is customized for people with leukemia, that's sterile in certain ways and has various equipment and is close to the hospital just in case you need to be, to have emergency treatment. It gets those properties. So they're called Karen's Home from Home. So that's what the trust does. It sort of buys and also in some cases rents those properties, and people can stay there, I think, for free. The other thing is if you have a family member that's being treated with leukemia, and traveling and hotel costs, they really rack up. So sometimes even just the family members are staying in the homes from home just to save their expenses. And again, these are environments that have all the right equipment for somebody undergoing leukemia treatment. So it's it's not an enormous charity, but it's I think there's something really tangible about it. I think sometimes charities, it feels a bit abstract what they're raising money for, where the money's going. Whereas with the Karen Morris Memorial Trust, it's very clear that is what it does.
Because you want a substantial amount of money on a celebrity who's a millionaire for them, 62,500.
Yeah, well,
wasn't it?
That was crazy. So it was probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I got a call from my agent saying, I didn't know you were going on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire next week. I said, oh, that makes two of us. I didn't know. And Vic Reeves was going on it, and I think he'd wanted Bob to go on it with him, and Bob was a bit shy. And so Vic had proposed me, but nobody had asked me or told me. So I only had a week, and I was like, oh, well, there's not really much prep you can do. So I went on that, and between us, we won £125,000 for our charities. Now, Vic answered most of the questions, really.
Right.
He's the clever one. But it was very nice and unexpected, and it was a big, it was in the early days of the charity, and it was a big shot in the arm,
Yeah, you've obviously had, as Patrick mentioned, all these TV roles that you've done. I mean, you've done Doctor Who. I mean, you must have picked up loads of fans. And have you been to conventions for that?
I've been to two. I've been to the London Film and Comic Con, and I've been to one in Los Angeles called Gallifrey One, which is a dedicated Doctor Who convention, which is great. I've only done those two, and that was quite a few years ago. But they were lovely, and the fans of Doctor Who know so much more about it than I do. Yeah. I think I feel with Doctor Who, there is a special place in the fandom of that particular show for neurodiverse people, and that was one of the things I noticed when I was at the convention, that it's a show that speaks to people in a way that other shows don't. And I think part of that might be that there's so much of it. The folklore of Doctor Who is so weighty now, and so deep and so immersive. It's very attractive to those neurodiverse people who can keep all that information in their heads. I can't, but I was so impressed by the knowledge of the fans of the show and the dedication. I was kind of really enchanted by it. The other thing about the show is it's a lead character who, there are a few exceptions, but traditionally isn't seeking. It's not a romantic show for the lead character, and that's quite rare.
Yeah,
that's quite rare, And growing up, when you're a kid and you watch TV, there are so many soppy love stories and everything, and I don't think kids are that interested in that. So I remember I was quite like Doctor Who in a way, because that wasn't his aim to fall in love.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the conventions, and and one of the things I love about the two sci-fi conventions that I went to was, one of the way this commitment from the fans manifests is what people wear. Because people at conventions, they create these extraordinary costumes. So everyone at the convention can be a star, not just people who've written or starred in shows that are being celebrated, but anybody there can steal the show by amazing costume.
So what's your favourite TV role then? Obviously, as we've mentioned Doctor Who, and with Pat mentioned all this, so your favourite, I know what my favourite role of yours is, but what is your favourite?
Well, the Little Britain and Come Fly With Me that I did with David, and another thing we did called Rock Profile. Obviously, they have a place in my heart, and I co-wrote those. I did a series years ago called Pompidou, which I co-wrote and I directed and appeared in and did the music. I wrote the theme tune, sang the theme tune, which I have fond memories of. I did like doing Doctor Who, because I don't think I ever thought I'd be in that. And, it also had a link because my late husband was a huge Doctor Who fan, so it felt like a way of reconnecting with him. But Russell T Davies cast me in A Midsummer Night's Dream as Bottom, and that was one of my favourites, because I auditioned and I didn't get the role. And the person that was supposed to do it was unable to do it. So with 3 weeks' notice, they said, "Can you come and do this?" I was hurriedly learning all the Shakespeare. And usually, most people are doing Shakespeare. They're doing it on stage. And you have a lot more time to rehearse and figure out the meaning and the interpretation. But with this, we didn't really have time to do that. We were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. So but I got the best reviews in my career as well in that. So I'm really proud that I got to do that, and grateful that I got to do that. I also played Toad in Wind in the Willows. That was I enjoyed doing that. It was a really, really hot, humid Romanian summer, and it was sort of 42 degrees on an average day, and I was a lot bigger then. And I was wearing padding and tweeds and prosthetics, and so it was quite a grueling shoot. But I really enjoyed.
Was that the Michael Palin version?
No, it was.
No, that I auditioned for the Michael Palin version. Yeah, I didn't get in, but I still auditioned.
No, there was a version. I think it was Terry Jones, Eric Idle, maybe. No, this was Bob Hoskins was in it.
Okay.
Imelda Staunton, Anna Maxwell Martin, Jim Carter, Mark Gatiss, Lee Ingleby. Yeah, it was fun. It was for the BBC.
You touched on Little Britain there, which is probably our favourite, Martin, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah, that was like what I was
You're
going to
looking
say.
really well.
Thank you.
One of the things you said is you're not as big as you used to be. You've certainly lost a lot of weight. I mean, was it through eating lettuce and dust and more lettuce and dust?
No, it's just so big I couldn't fit on the screen anymore.
Yeah, but if you come back in Little Britain, David sticks in my mind in those.
I look different. Maybe I'll have to put weight on again.
Because you took it to the US as well, didn't you? So did you take this? I never saw the US version, I've got to admit. Did you have the same characters that you had in the British version?
We had a lot of the characters, Key and Marjorie and Lou and Andy, and a lot of the characters. And then we had a lot of new characters as well.
Yeah, because we go out a lot of people in America listen to us. So that's another reason to get people on who are associated with America, obviously, like yourself with this program. So hopefully people who are listening will remember you by it.
Yeah. On a more somber note, Matt, you were on Who Do You Think You Are? And you found out that your ancestors were involved in the Holocaust. Your grandmother's cousins actually lived with Anne Frank. And you've been raised as a Jew, but you describe yourself as an atheist.
Well, I think that's changed a bit, actually. I think I would say I'm agnostic now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, how did you come up with that synopsis, really, that, how do you answer questions about God and the supernatural and all that sort of thing?
Well, I was brought up religious. My family are Reform Jews from northwest London, which has a big Jewish community. Probably, I think the largest. No, I can't say the largest Jewish community in the UK, but one of the largest ones. And I would go on Saturday morning to synagogue, and I would go on a Sunday morning to Hebrew classes, and Sunday afternoon to youth club at the synagogue, and Tuesday evening after school to Hebrew classes, and Thursday evening to Cub Scout group at the synagogue. And, so it was a big part of our lives. And my mum was the assistant secretary at the synagogue. And before that, she'd worked in the nursery. My cousin worked in the nursery there. Yeah. My brother and father helped with security. My stepmother ran the day center for the older people. And so the synagogue was a huge part of our life. And I really liked that growing up. There was some very good, kind people there, and my experiences were very positive. I mean, the Hebrew classes, the religion school on a Sunday morning was quite strict.
Yeah.
Also, Hebrew is a very difficult language to learn. As I got through, as I got older, my faith disappeared really in terms of, do I believe in God? Not really. But whereas before I said I was an atheist because I absolutely felt there was no God. Now I feel, I'm 50, and as I get older, I just become, the older I get, the more aware I am of how little I know.
Yeah.
And so, although I don't necessarily believe that there is a God, I don't feel I can say categorically that I know there isn't.
Yeah.
And I think when you're an atheist, you believe there is no God. I can't say categorically that I know there isn't. I don't pray to one.
No.
But I feel I don't know enough about the world. I think about, do I know about how my body works? Not really. Do I know what's in the oceans? Not really. Do I know how a plane flies? Not really. I mean, some pretty, the knowledge is out there, but I don't know really how these things operate, how the world works. I don't really know how electricity comes out of my wall. How does that all work? Or how it works? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know this stuff. So for me to then say, I know that there's no God, I just don't feel I can say that I know that. But I don't necessarily believe that there is. and I don't pray to God or anything like that. But I feel, for me, it might be a bit. I would feel maybe a bit conceited to say, or arrogant to say, there is no God. I don't know. What do you believe?
I don't think anybody really knows for definite, Matt. So
and even people who believe, it's faith, isn't it? It's faith. It's belief. But it's, I suppose, in a way, it's trying to have humility and trying to say, maybe there's something, but it's not something or someone that I pray to or anything like that, because I don't. But but members of my family are still religious, and so I do still participate in the, in Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and if I'm around Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and when I see my family on a Friday evening, we do the Friday night candles because it's the beginning of the Sabbath, and all of those things, out of respect to my family, I participate in all of that.
Yeah. So I've got one quick question, and then another one that I'd like you to talk about. So the quick question is, are you in Paddington 3?
I'm not.
Because you're the taxi driver in the other two. So,
well, I was a taxi driver only in the first one, actually. And then I got.
Oh, I thought you was in the second one.
No, I got dropped in the Thames. So I'm probably still swimming in the Thames.
So the other question is more, tell us about your new book, because I believe it's got QR codes where you can.
Okay. One moment. Got it here.
I bet you've got a copy ready to show us there, Matt.
Yeah. So this is the hardback, which came out last year, but the paperback.
Yeah.
The paperback is now out. This is called The Boy Who Slept Through Christmas. So it's a novel for children and adults.
And available on Amazon.
Everywhere, yeah. Amazon and
any book,
Waterstone, Smiths, and all the independent bookstores as well. But it's a little bit different because as I was writing the novel, I kept thinking, I'd love this to be a stage musical one day. So I wrote and recorded 20 songs. And as you read the book, there are 20 QR codes throughout the book. There's one there. And as you read the book, you take your phone or your tablet and you go to the QR code and it takes you to a lyric video of that song. You can also just go on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and those streamers, and just hear the album of the music now as well. But that's the book, and it's about a 10-year-old boy called Leo who absolutely loves Christmas, but this Christmas is going to be a little bit different because his mum has passed away from cancer. And he's got to try and figure out a way to celebrate Christmas without his mum there. Because before she passed away, she made him promise that regardless of what happened, he was still going to have the best Christmas ever. So it is a comic novel, but there are themes of grief running through it because it's about, how the family adapt and manage without mum there.
Yeah.
So it does introduce some of those themes, but it's done with comedy, and the music is upbeat generally, and all the lyrics to the songs are at the back of the book as well. I'm really proud of it. I worked really hard on it, and there you go. Nice. That's the hardback, which you can still get, but if you want to get the paperback, that's out. I worked really, really hard on it, and it's done well, and it was received well critically. It did well commercially, and it's selling well at the moment. And
I heard you on Talk Sport actually, and they got one of the guys, I think it was Jason Cundy, got his phone out, didn't he? And I heard one of the songs on there, so I can vouch to anybody who wants to get this book. There's the song that I heard was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's a novel idea, but I mean, it is a great idea.
Boom, boom.
Because the kids can actually interact with the book. Did you sing any of the songs on there?
Yeah, I sang a few. I sing 3 or 4 of them, or 4 or 5. I can't remember how many, but yeah, there's a few that I sing. But most of the singers are much better than me. They are West End musical stars who.
I saw you sung with Alfie Boe as well at one point.
I've sung with Alfie. He was staying at my house about 15 years ago, and we were doing funny duets that we were uploading on YouTube at the time. But also I was in Les Miserables with Alfie, and I'm going to be in Les Mis with Alfie again. I'm going to join the international touring cast of Les Mis. We're going to do these concerts in arenas. I'm doing them in Sweden, Holland, and Australia.
Wow. There you go, Patrick. That's what you've got to learn. Les Mis.
Yeah.
Don't try and say Miserables because you can't ever get the words right.
I can't. I'm not very good with my tongue twisters. So who inspired you in comedy?
Well, growing up, and I love Laurel and Hardy, and I would say David Walliams. You know, I met David when I was 16, and a year later, when I was 17 and he was 20, there was a production of The Tempest, and I was bringing props on and off. That was my job, but he was one of the stars of it, and I used to watch him in rehearsals and watch him stand in the wings and watch him and think he was, you know, the funniest man in the world. So I you know, my comic tastes were influenced by David and Harry Enfield as well. Growing up, I used to love his characters. Carry On movies. Obviously Morecambe and Wise, everyone loves that. Steptoe and
so we loved.
Yeah. Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal. I mean, so many great people. Victoria Wood, I really loved. French and Saunders as well. And
what do you think about political correctness in comedy now? Has that what effect do you think that's had?
I don't know. I think these things go in cycles. So I think at the moment there's a sort of you know, it's that way, but I think these things go in cycles, and they always have done.
Yeah,
you know, we can become a bit more puritanical as a society in terms of art, and then we become a bit more relaxed, and it just, the pendulum swings one way and it swings the other. So, you know, the next generation after me will probably be riotous, you know, and dangerous and outrageous, and I hope they are.
Yeah. So you've been very lucky with your music career. I mean, you was number one in the iTunes with your Potato song, which hopefully we're going to do a little bit later on. But you was also number one with Peter Kay, weren't you? And I'm going to be 500 miles. That
was lots of fun. You know, I'm a huge Peter Kay fan.
Yeah,
I'm an enormous Proclaimers fan. And look, there's my sheet music from my musical.
Oh yeah,
and see if I can. I haven't played Baked Potato for so long. Let's see if I can remember the chords. And so that was a dream come true, and I think it was number one for 3 weeks. That. Yeah.
So the bit when Peter Kay shouts at Bobby Davro, was that actually ad-libbed, or was that actually part of what you was going to do?
I didn't know he was going to do it, but it was great.
No.
But you know, we filmed it on 2 separate days. So we were there on the first day filming, and then the second day they had all of the celebrity cameos. So when we filmed it, none of those people were actually there.
Right.
Me and David were on tour with our Little Britain show. So, and what do you do, Baked Potato?
Yeah.
Baked potato, show me the way. That's it.
I'll let you start it, Matt, because
from right, you must listen to what potatoes say. Can you hear that?
Yep. I can hear that. Yeah.
They endorse, thank you, Baked Potato. Da, 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 da.
Only visit grocery stores.
See, I can't even remember how to play it. I'm busy playing.
I've got my jingle bells if you wanted to go for this. Because you did it with several celebrities, didn't you, during the lockdown?
Oh, so Baked Potato was wild because I did it on Shooting Stars years and years ago. And then when the pandemic was just starting, I had this electric piano delivered because I thought, gosh, I'm going to be in this little 2-bedroom house with nothing to do for the foreseeable future. And I had these 2 beautiful dogs, but they just passed away within 10 weeks of each other. Just before the pandemic. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I got this piano here, and the night I got it, I was just, And then I was watching the news on the TV, and people were not self-isolating and quarantining or any of that. And so I thought, well, one way to get to the adults is through the kids. So if I rewrite this baked potato song and record it, change the lyrics, maybe that will help communicate it. And I recorded it just sitting exactly where I am now, and put it on my Twitter, and then it just sort of went viral. And then I recorded a proper version of it in my bedroom, and it was created remotely and released as a single. And the proceeds went to a charity that I had a small part in setting up, called Feed NHS, because of course, when the pandemic happened so suddenly, do you remember all the supermarket shelves being empty of everything? And of course, medical staff, doctors, nurses, administrative staff, receptionists, porters, all the people in the hospitals were finishing their very long shifts and getting to the supermarkets. There was no food there. But also at the same time, there was this whole supply chain that was, that the restaurant industry used, and all this food was going to waste. So there was a charity set up by a man called John Vincent, who at the time was the co-owner of Leon, that food chain, the kind of healthy fast food chain. And Helen McCrory, and the late Helen McCrory, and Damien Lewis, who were a couple, and me. So the four of us set up Feed NHS, and the proceeds from the song and other amazing financial donations that mainly John, Damien, and Helen were able to get, helped get food, usually hot food, to hospitals, so that hospital staff, doctors, nurses, etc., could actually eat. And so I was a very small part of that, but it just felt like a constructive thing to do in a time when I felt kind of helpless.
My favorite one was Ronan Keating, definitely.
Yeah, so I did this. I did that, and then I did a virtual duet with Gary Barlow, and then suddenly I was doing one a day, and I did with Rick Astley and Ronan Keating, Brian May, and
the Arsenal back four,
the famous Arsenal back four from 18, with 90. Well, I suppose the one after that. So it was David Seaman and Tony Adams and Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn and Old, and then at the very end, a very disgruntled Martin Keown was there. So hang on a minute. Why was I not asked to do this? And and huge West End choirs and the English National Opera and
opera people.
Yeah, opera people and people all over the world, great singers. And we did it in lots of different genres, and rock and heavy metal and country and folk. And it was a lovely thing. And Tom Chaplin from Keane, he did the last one, and he actually went and wrote a new melody for the song and sort of did it in minor chords. And that was sort of put out there to show that actually, now that the world was getting back to a new kind of normality, that actually Feed NHS was winding down. But it was an unexpected moment in my life. But Thank You Baked Potato went to number one on the iTunes chart, number one on the national downloads chart, and even was in the actual top 40. And there was a book that came off it as well. We did a couple of books and more songs, and cuddly toys. And
should we ever go at it then, Matt?
Well, I'm trying to remember see, the problem is I haven't played it for 5 years, so I can't remember the 4 years, so I can't remember. I can play something else.
But do you know the song without playing it?
Yeah, baked potato changed my life. Baked
potato showed me the way.
If you want to know what is wrong from right, you must
listen to what the potatoes say.
Okay, there we go. Wash your hands and stay indoors.
Thank you, baked potato.
Only visit grocery stores
Thank you, baked potato. And if you want to have a better day, you must listen to what the baked potatoes say. Keep them distant, make some space.
Thank you, baked potato.
Remember not to touch your face.
Thank you, baked potato. And
if you want to have a better day,
you must
listen to what the baked potatoes say.
There you go. That was
BAKEDPOTATO. Baked potato.
There you go.
Well done.
It wasn't my vintage performance. I should have practiced it before then.
I caught you on the hop there, Matt. So,
whatever you like.
What does the future hold for Matt Lucas then?
Well, I'm currently writing my second novel, which is for teenagers. This one, young adults.
And you've already written an autobiography, haven't you, called Little Me?
That's right. That's that was a while ago. And I'm doing some podcasts, and I've just filmed a TV pilot. So fingers crossed. Let's see if that's being edited at the moment. So let's see if the broadcaster likes it and wants to make a series. And I'm doing more dates in Les Miserables in Sweden, Holland, and Australia next year. So,
are you going to be too busy to do any more fantasy football?
Yeah, fantasy football is done, but the TV pilot that I did was made by the same company, so I got to work with a lot of the same people again, which was lovely.
Yeah. We tried to. I tried to get tickets for the audience, but the trouble is you have to go and queue up, and they'll let a certain amount in. So we need someone who's in the know to get us some tickets, Matt.
Well, alas, there is no more fantasy football league.
Oh no!
Sorry. So I can get you tickets, but there won't be anything on.
On your own, Martin. You're used to.
And we thank you for all your lovely, honest answers as well, Matt. Keep saying, because I'm looking at your photograph.
Matt, we're both on statins. You've heard of statins, I take it. Do your memory any good? So
no.
Well, I've got no such excuse. No. But it was lovely chatting to you both. Congrats.
Yeah. We wish you all the best for the future, Matt. And thank you for giving up your time for coming on.
My pleasure. Lots of love to you both. And
thank you, Matt.
Up the guns.
Yeah, definitely. Help me win the league this year.
Cheers.
Bye, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Matt.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you got the baked potato song in just there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because he probably, because when you think he'd done that during the lockdown, so that was the last time he probably done that with that guy from Keene. So because he's been on so many other things, you don't realise how busy Matt Lucas has actually been during his career. Starting at 21, did he say it's with Shooting Stars, and he's now 50. So and all the different roles that he's had has been unbelievable. But a truly honest podcast again.
He's very, very clever that he can go into all them different roles as well, because he's playing some serious parts and some comical parts, and he does it extremely well.
The good news is, everybody, there'll be no joke of the week.
After the last one, I'm sure they'll all be pleased about it.
The listening figures will be going up now. But don't worry, the next time we do one together, there'll be a joke of the week. So anyway, it's time for us to say goodbye, Patrick.
Thanks very much for joining me again today, Martin. It's a pleasure to be in your company.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of fun, and we let Matt take the show today, didn't we? Thanks very much for listening, everyone. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.